What's happening, everybody? Trey here, joined by my dad, Sean, and today reactions to the classics. We are closing out the 90s as we are up to 1999 in our top 10 albums by year draft. If you want to check out any other videos in the series, man, we go all the way back to 1965, year by year, and we're partying like it's 1999 here today, Dad.
Well, the parties in 1999 were probably better than the albums in 1999, but if you don't know how this works, I got first pick this year. Some years it matters. This year it didn't matter at all. Trey gets 2 and 3. I get 4 and 5, and so on. But as Trey mentioned, check it out. We went all the way back to 1965. We're going all the way through 2022, the year that we're filming this in. If you would like to support us in any way, check out our Patreon link below, the Patreon link on the end screen, because that makes this thing happen. And you also get to vote on the album listening party we do once a month on YouTube. It's based on a winner out of each year of these albums, Trey. So do you want me to kick this bad boy off?
Yeah, you got first pick.
Well, let's do it, man. My first pick is, I don't actually like this as well as their other album that you got third pick on, I think in 97, but Keep It Like a Secret, Built to Spill, their fourth studio album, Pitchfork 41 on their top albums of the 90s. Doug Marsh made a conscious decision to write shorter, more concise songs for this album. Although the closer is almost 9 minutes, and still several of the songs are over 5 minutes, so I don't know how conscientious he was of this. Many of the songs from the album originated from a week's worth of jammed sessions in Boise, Idaho, during the rock capital of the world.
Yeah, something like that, right?
During these marathon jam sessions, which would last up to 5 hours at a time, Marsh used a foot pedal that triggered a tape machine to begin recording. He would later comb through the hours of recorded music and find parts that he liked, methodically building them into songs. I think the standout on here is The Plan, but I think there's a lot of good songs in there. Yeah. I would never have picked this as number one album of any other year that we've done so far. Yeah. This is by far the weakest year that I've done, but it's still a really good album.
No, it is. Built to Spill, great, just indie rock, band right there, and, Doug's guitar work and, that lyricism really resonates, man. So, yeah, good record right there. My first is going to be a group that I chose in the 80s, actually, a few different times. It's going to be XTC's Apple Venus Volume 1. This record was not on my radar at all. I saw it had a lot of good reviews for this year. I checked it out. It's not on Spotify or streaming, right. So it is on YouTube, though, and man, it is absolutely fantastic. It's their 13th record, so, obviously, Dad, normally when you hit double digits in your records, you don't get to one of your best works.
Yeah, you don't.
But this is arguably their best work, which is probably a very hot take in the XTC lore there, but it was going to be a double record. They split it up to have more of the rock-centric songs on Volume 2 due to the money issues that they had. Very orchestral and acoustic-driven. Definitely harkens back to kind of the Beatles, Beach Boys, psychedelic periods in the 60s in particular, in my opinion. Orchestra, I mentioned Money Cuts. They recorded all the orchestral parts in just one day at Abbey Road Studios. River of Orchids is lovely. Easter Theater and The Last Balloon are also fantastic. Right. And going now to Fiona Apple's Win the Pawn. That is her second record right there, produced by John Bryan, who also contributes bass, keys, drums, guitars. He's all over the place.
Yeah, he's everywhere, man.
Very famous, acclaimed producer of the 21st century. This is certified platinum. Centers on breakup. Definitely keeps that melancholic yet also empowering voice that Fiona has throughout the 10 songs. This one's concise, especially for the 90s, Dad.
Yeah, I was going to say.
10 songs, a little over 40 minutes. Paper Bag is great with that horn arrangement in there. Details how, hopes that we have can come abruptly crashing down. And the closer, I know, has always been one of my favorite Fiona tracks as well.
All right, well, my second pick is a lot of people's first pick, critics, is The Soft Bulletin, The Flaming Lips, ninth studio album, Pitchfork number 3 on the top 100 albums of the 90s, and awarded it a rare score of a 10.0. Noted for its fusion of ordinary rock instruments, electronic beats, and synths, its large layered symphonic sound has also earned a reputation as the pet sounds of the 90s from a few critics, Wayne Coyle and Stephen Draws, obviously. Firing on all cylinders, Race for the Prize and Waiting for Superman, and the Spider Bite song are standouts. Interesting story on that. Go check out, we did a full album reaction to this for for Javier. Shout out to Javier. One of the first full album reactions we did.
I remember it, man. Back in the old setup.
Back in the old setup, boys and girls. You go look at that, you're like, what are these cats doing?
No, I probably would have chosen this if you hadn't, Dad. I think the great psychedelic nature of the record and just the production is really, really stand out.
Next up, I have Performance and Cocktails by the Stereophonics. Just recently listened to this one. For one of our patrons brought this. There was a reaction up to its second studio album, The Bartender and the Thief, Just Looking, and Pick a Part That's New are the standouts. Number 1 in the UK, 6 times platinum in the UK. A definite showcase for Kelly Jones. And this is one of those bands, Trey, that we come across that were huge in the UK and I never even heard of, basically.
Yeah, same here, man. I still haven't listened to any of their records, so maybe I will start with I'll start with this one, man. But we're gonna switch gears totally to Dr. Dre's 2001, his second record, debuted at number 2. Which is wild because it had over 500,000 its first week. Insane. But it was shut out of all things by Korn's record Issue. It's sold nearly 10 million worldwide. I mean, it has that classic G-funk West Coast sound. I'm more an East Coast guy when it comes to 90s hip-hop. But, man, so many absolute classic songs, not just, I think, of the 90s, but in hip-hop in general. And one of the best produced records as well when you're talking just samples, beats. I mean, so many have just used the instrumentals on this. You can't help but get hyped when Still Dre comes on. What's the difference? The next episode, Explosive, and of course, Forgot About Dre, which M's got a couple notable features on here. Snoop Dogg as well. Exhibit was, he talk about a guy that was huge for his time. I don't know what happened to Exhibit, but man,
I had the show on MTV.
Yeah, Pimp My Ride, baby.
Pimp My Ride, it's escaping me.
Good record right here from Dre for sure. And then we're going to go for my fourth pick, Ben Folds 5, The Unauthorized
I was going to
History
pick this.
of Reinhold Messner. Their third record, we again have a review of this up, I believe, or at least we reviewed some songs of it.
We do. We have this up, I think, for Javier.
Yeah, beautiful piano throughout this whole record, man. And Ben Folds, obviously known for that. Behind the keys there. Lyrics tell those vivid stories and touch on things from death and regret. Title comes from the name used by the drummer of the band, and he used it as a name for his fake ID. But there is an actual Reinhold Messner who was the first man to climb Mount Everest solo. So they ended up making an agreement. But what are the odds? What are the odds that happens?
Because they said they'd never heard of him. But how do you pick this name and never heard it? This is a bizarro name.
It's a bit of a loose concept album following this character, Reinhold Messner, throughout his life, memories, heartache, etc. Mess, Army, and Your Redneck Past are my favorites.
All right, well, my fourth pick, Trey, had to do it. Slim Shady LP, Eminem. Second studio album. His first one with Dr. Dre, the aforementioned Dr. Dre. The majority of the lyrical content's written from the perspective of M's alter ego, Slim Shady, who obviously he's going to just keep on building throughout the early 2000s, who he created on the Slim Shady EP in 97. Here's where this one would never fly today, right? It contains cartoonish depictions of violence, heavy use of profanity, which M described as horror film-esque, and is solely for entertainment value. One best rap album at Grammys, best rap solo performance for My Name Is, 352 on Rolling Stone's 500 greatest albums of all time, and 248 on NME's. My Name Is and Guilty Conscience are standouts. But I'm going to tell you guys, now look, his flow is great. The lyricism is actually great, but there's going to be a few things on here, boys and girls, that if you ain't ready for, there's some heavy duty stuff on here. There's everything on here.
Dude, no, this I'm glad you chose this, Dad. I probably would have chosen it because I mean this is
it's so good.
One of the first albums, back when I was 16 years old, man, and getting into hip hop, and of course, was the guy. He's the bridge for suburban white kids, right?
That's right, man.
Though I don't consider Eminem the greatest rapper of all time like I did back then.
No.
I mean, his first three records
are
here
so good,
are just awesome, and something that's so provocative and so out there that it got the people talking. And with Dre on here helping on production and everything, it's massive for a guy who has sold over 200 million albums. One of the best selling artists of all time. This is kind of where you can trace it back.
Well, I'll tell you, living it out, Trey, which I mean, you were young, so you didn't really live it out. I mean, there was no one more controversial and in the public eye than Eminem for a couple years there, so it worked for him. My final pick, You know, guys, I said at the start, man, this year's a little rough for me, man. So I had a hard time coming with my fifth pick. You know, going with Wilco, Summer Teeth. Third studio album, I want to say Summer Teeth, but it's Summer Teeth. Third studio album, heavily influenced lyrically by 20th century literature, as well as singer Jeff Tweedy's marital problems, and if you listen to it, you'll tell from the lyrics. Unlike previous albums, heavily overdubbed in the studio. Tweedy and Jay Bennett wrote most of the album in the studio, contrast to their previous albums, which were often recorded live by the entire band with minimal overdubs. They wanted to keep that live feel. They switched it totally here. To complement the bold and impressive lyrics, Tweedy relied more heavily on his production skills of the multi-instrumentalist Jay Bennett, as I talked about, who played a variety of instruments beside the usual lead guitar and keyboard. He used a mellotron, a tambourine, synths. Can't Stand It is the best track on here, but like I said, it's a good album. It's not a great album. I don't feel the same way about your fifth pick, which I almost picked as my fifth pick.
Well, I'm going with a Midwest emo classic, the debut from American Football.
I thought it was good.
The self-titled American Football. They split up shortly after the release of this record, and they didn't come out with another album for around, I think, 15 years.
I think that's right.
So, kind of interesting there. Never Meant, I think, is one of the great emo songs of all time, and just songs of the 90s that, starts the record off. And it shows the kind of heartache of the pain vocalist paired with the pretty guitar tones. Honestly, and Stay Home are other favorites for me. Not everybody's into the Midwest emo scene.
Sure.
I am, but
I thought it was good.
And that'll take us now to some honorable mentions.
Well, this one's going to be controversial because the critics hated this album, but I listened to it. I still like it. Enema of the State, Blink-182.
Me too, man.
Little mock tutor from Richard Thompson, White Stripes, self-titled. The Beta Band, the 3 EPs, which we did a review of.
And for me, man, I had Sugar Rose's record that I'm not even going to try to pronounce.
No, I'm not. That was good, though, too. Oh, I had David Sylvian, Dead Bees on a Cake, which was actually good.
A couple of good hip-hop leaning records. MF Doom's Operation Doomsday, Mos Def's Black on Both Sides, The Roots, Things Fall Apart. Roots had a great just string of records in this period. And, of course, Rage Against the Machine's Battle of Los Angeles.
Well, we've done it, man. We have finished the 90s track. I went into this very nervous because I don't really like a lot of 90s popular music. I found some real gems in here. Still, for me, the weakest decade, although, it can give the 80s a little bit of run. Nothing touches the 60s and 70s for me right now. But we're about to go into uncharted territory for the old man. Now, I still own some of these CDs in the early 2000s, but I don't know that any of them off the top of my head are worthy of top 5, so I'm going to have to dig really deep, but this definitely was a fun journey through the 90s.
No, it is, man, and next week be sure to come back as we are going to do 10 albums apiece for our top records of the 90s, and then after that, man, we will be on to the 2000s, the new millennium.
That's right.
Should be a fun time for sure. Let us know who you think won the battle and your favorite records of 1999, and until next time, thanks for watching. Happy listening, and we will see you.